tell you, that Grinch makes a mess. I'll just throw that on. How about that? There you go. All right? There, does that work? There we go. No, I don't know. All right. Yeah, I know. Well, Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope you're having a great night. We're so glad you guys are here with us as we celebrate the birth of our Savior. Now, for the rest of the night, there's going to be some things asked of you to participate in, so I want to go ahead and get you warmed up, kind of loosened up already, so when that happens, you won't be too off. So I'm going to give you part of a very common phrase, and I'm just going to have you finish it, okay? And we'll see how well we can do this. So, for instance, the first one will be this. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Very good, very good. All right, how about this one? 'Twas the night before Christmas and all through the house. Every time a bell rings. Yeah, I didn't hear a lot of young voices on that one. Peace on earth, goodwill. And finally, some assembly required, right? And some of you right now are thinking, I've already experienced that. And some of you will get to experience that a little bit later tonight probably. That there are some things that just have to be put together. And, when it comes to putting things together, some things are pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. Then other ones, you need like an engineering degree to decipher the coding for how to put together IKEA furniture. And, it's one of those things you're like, I don't exactly know what's going on here, right? And so it sometimes begs the question of us, what do we have the power to do? When it comes to cars, I tend to go a little bit farther than maybe I have power or not. But I'm going to try to fix it and try to get it done myself. And so we find ourselves sometimes wondering, what do I have the power to do? And I would say maybe at Christmas we could actually open that question bigger, saying, what is actually in our power and what isn't overall? Because Christmas has a funny way of revealing with all of its joy and happiness the fact that we love control, right? And as you think about it, we want our meals to come together perfectly every time. We want the schedule to cooperate with us. We want the kids to behave. We want the kids to behave. We want the kids to behave. It just never happens. We want the family to get along, which goes back to the kids behaving. But again, the two peas in a pod. And we want the season to feel the way it's supposed to feel, right? We have this idea in our minds of what it's supposed to be like. For me, I love watching White Christmas. I wanted to tell Bobby we might have to change the song choices for tonight and sing Mele Kalikimaka on the way out because it is like way too warm, and it's just like we want certain things when it comes to Christmas. And when we don't get that, frustration begins to creep in. That's why tonight in our series, The Blank That Stole Christmas, we'll be talking about the power that stole Christmas. If you'd asked someone on the night that Jesus was born, who's the most powerful person in the world, they would have said without hesitation, Caesar Augustus. Caesar Augustus. Luke tells us in Luke 2:1, in those days, a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the words should be registered. With a single sentence, with a signature and a seal, Caesar could literally move nations to do whatever he commanded them to do. And that decree sent a poor, exhausted couple from Mary and Joseph from where they lived on a journey from Nazareth to Bethlehem. Now, from a human perspective, Caesar looked like the one in control. But Luke begins to show us something deeper in this. Because while Caesar sat on a throne full of power, true power was lying in a manger. And if we're going to be honest, this isn't just a first century problem. This is a real world problem we have today. I mean, we're not all after, I want to rule the Roman Empire and control the world type power, hopefully. But we have quieter forms of that control, right? Control of our circumstances, over the outcomes, over people in our lives, and how life in general turns out. We want to have a say in that. We want to think we have control. And the more control we grab for, the more stressed out we become in our lives. I can remember 11th grade history when I lived in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. My teacher was named Miss Zafuto, and she was an Italian. Her son was in my class, but I remember her quoting Lord Acton in one of our classes. There were two quotes she gave us, and I've never forgotten them, but the quote was this: power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it's this idea both in political life and in spiritual life, when we have all of the control, it ends up corrupting us. And the thing about it is the more power we carry, the more angry we get, the more frustrated we get when things don't go our way, because we realize exactly how much power we don't have. And so we begin to get frustrated. And the reason is we were never meant to carry that kind of weight. We weren't built for that. We weren't built to be in control. Luke continues the story, picking up in verse 3. And all went to be registered, each to his own town. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, from the town of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed, who was with child. And while they were there, the time came for her to give birth. And she gave birth to her firstborn son and wrapped him in swaddling cloths and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. Think about how upside down this illustration is, right? We have the Savior of the world being born in obscurity, born in weakness, born unnoticed. There was no palace, no armies to protect him. There was no press release, hey, we just had a baby. But this was exactly how God had planned it. Because the real power on that first Christmas wasn't Caesar's decree, it was found in God's promises. Hundreds of years before Caesar Augustus was ever thought of, in Micah, it says this in chapter 5, verse 2. But you, O Bethlehem Ephrathah, who are too little to be among the clans of Judah, from you shall come forth for me one who is to be ruler in Israel, whose coming forth is from of old, from ancient days. Caesar thought he was flexing his authority, but unknowingly he was fulfilling God's prophecy. The empire believed they were moving history forward. In reality, it was God's design. You see, the real power wasn't in Rome. It wasn't in politics. It wasn't human authority at all. It was in the faithfulness of God keeping his word. This reminds me of the Chronicles of Narnia. If you know the story, there's the wicked witch. She's the white witch, and she's ruling over the land, and Aslan has come back to free Narnia. And in the process of everything, the wicked witch wants Aslan dead. And so she convinces him of that, and she kills Aslan, or so she thinks. But see, the witch didn't understand some things. She didn't understand some deeper magic that was ancient and a power older than her throne that was even a power stronger than death. Aslan once said it this way: if the witch knew the true meaning of sacrifice, she might have interpreted the deep magic a little differently. For she would know for if a willing victim who committed no treachery died in a traitor's stead, the stone table would crack and death itself would begin to unwind. You see, so her actions, the witch's actions meant for destruction, ended up being the very thing Aslan needed to come back and save all of Narnia. And that is how the power at Christmas works. The power was with Caesar, and he was issuing decrees, and he was making things move, and he was dividing and moving nations. But all the while, unbeknownst to him, a Savior was born who was going to save the world from everything, not just his power and his authority, but from sin and death itself. And Jesus didn't come to flex earthly strength. He came to do what we could never do. He was born to live a life that we couldn't live, so he could die a death that we deserved. And that's why Paul, in his letter writes this, 1 Corinthians verse 18. For the word of the cross is folly to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. It's not a sword. It's not the throne. It's not a decree. It's the cross. The power that looks like sacrifice. It looks like humility. It looks like love. And here's the part that I think we often miss when it comes to that, is he didn't just come to save us someday. He came to empower us today. In Ephesians 3:20, it says this, now to him who is able to do far more abundantly than all that we ask or think, according to the power at work within us. The same power that raised Christ from the dead is a power that lives inside of us today. Which means Christmas isn't just a reminder of what God did. It's a constant reminder of what God does each and every day of our lives. So what if power is what steals Christmas? Not God's power, but our own desire for control. Our insistence on fixing everything. Our belief that everything depends on us. I think if we allow it, Christmas will gently remind us it doesn't. God doesn't need our strength. He doesn't need our control. He doesn't need our perfection. He just invites us to trust him. As we close out tonight, I want to zoom out and remember where we've been together this Christmas season. In this series, The Blank That Stole Christmas, we've been honest about the things that quite creep in and rob us of our joy. We talked about materialism, how the gifts can distract us from the gift. We talked about the schedule and how it crowds out our worship. We talked about conflict, how broken relationships can drain the joy right out of the room. We talked about grief, how loss shows up right when the lights are brightest. And tonight we've talked about power, our need to control, to fix, manage, and hold everything together. Listen, none of these things in and of themselves are evil. They're not bad. But when they take center stage, when they dethrone God in our lives and become our priority, there's a big issue there. And Christmas gently reminds us that salvation doesn't come through strength, speed, success, or control. It comes through surrender. It comes through weakness. It came through a baby that was laid in a manger. Jesus didn't come to be another burden we carry. He came to carry our burdens. So maybe the invitation for Christmas isn't to do more, fix more, or try harder. Maybe it's just to loosen your grip and let go. To lay down what was never yours to carry in the first place. To trust that God is at work even when he feels unfinished, messy, or out of our control. Because the power we need isn't found in having everything go right. It's found in trusting the one who already made everything right. And that is what we celebrate tonight.